Hello, everyone. My name is Yarin, and welcome to this gorgeous lowdown of women and their role in the Pesach story and what we can learn to have an amazing Pesach and also to bring that light with us for an incredible year. So, I'm here outside in Guatemala on Lake Atitlan, and yeah, there's the gorgeous water in front of me. It's almost Shabbat, and then we're gonna go straight into Pesach. And I wanted to share a few deep, beautiful ideas that I learned this Pesach that I think will prepare us, especially as women. And even if you're watching this after the Seder, that's okay, babe, because we have the full week of Pesach to draw down this energy, to shift our consciousness, because Pesach is really a portal. And one of the things that I wrote about in my newsletter, and I also put it on Instagram, was this idea of Pesach being a birth. When Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, were in Egypt, it was almost like they were in the womb. And then the splitting of the sea is a metaphor to the breaking of the water of a woman. And then we basically get birth like a new child, but we become a new entity, the new collective of Am Yisrael that goes into Egypt. Now, this metaphor can be expanded because you can even think about it as, when we're in the desert, we have manna, and we're fed, and there's the clouds of glory, and God's taking care of us, and that's kind of like the adolescence. And then we get into the land of Israel, and God's like, okay, you guys are big children now, go ahead, fight your own wars, make your own money, do your own thing. And that journey is kind of the journey from the womb all the way into adulthood, and that's the journey of Pesach. So a big part of Yetziat Mitzrayim, the exodus of Egypt, the Torah says is that B'schut nashim tzidkaniyot nigalnu miMitzrayim, that in the merit of righteous women, we were redeemed for Israel. And then the Midrash comes and says, V'b'schut nashim tzidkaniyot nigael, and in the merit of righteous women, we will be redeemed. When will we be redeemed? In the future, in the times of Mashiach, in the eventual end or beginning of time, that will be a time of love, of peace, of unity, of oneness, and that is what Mashiach is. So really, the Torah tells us, and the Kabbalah teaches us, that it is up to us women. It's not that men won't do it. And also when we talk about women, it's not just females as in the sex, it's also about the feminine archetype. But really, our role as women is to wake up to our unique powers that we have as women. And I think that through the Pesach story, we have different women that can teach us some of these lessons. So I wanted to share a few of them. And first, let's just discuss, why does it say these women were righteous? Because number one, these women had faith. And what is faith and what is emunah? First of all, there's hundreds of themes around Pesach, and faith, emunah, is probably number one. And really, when we go throughout our lives, I feel like we're in this constant state of needing to remember that we are loved unconditionally, that God is the infinite and ultimate good, the creator of all, and that we are connected to him, her, it, and that God loves us. And sometimes we forget, and sometimes things happen and we're like stressing and worried, and we forget that, first of all, everything that happens to us happens to us for the good. And secondly, everything that happens to us is there not to make money, not to get the business deal, not to get that relationship. It's really to just come closer to God and to come closer to ourselves. So in the story of Pesach, we really have the righteous woman being the mothers in Am Yisrael in Egypt. Why? During the time, the men were doing backbreaking work, and there was so much slavery, and the men were like, okay, we're done, like, this is game over. And the women were like, hell no, this is not the end of the Jewish people, and this is not the end of Am Yisrael. And what they would do is that they would go and they would get dolled up and get all pretty, and they would go and they would seduce their husband. And it was basically that resilience. And I also feel that, like, very feminine, number one, like sensual, sexual, powerful, connected to earth, connected to the power of renewal and continuity. And that is something that we that the women did, and that's why Am Yisrael basically survives. So I think that if I could, every Torah that we learn, every idea that we learn, it's so important to go and create and ask ourselves questions of how we can integrate that. So I think part of how we can integrate that is by asking ourselves, and this is related to the theme of redemption of Pesach and freedom, is asking ourselves, what do I feel is impossible for me? Like, what do I really want, but I feel that probably I'm never going to get it, or I don't have faith that I'm actually going to get this thing. I really want it, but I'm too scared to want it too much, because what if I don't get it? I know that right now I feel like that sometimes with relationships. I'm like, oh my God, what if I don't find my husband? Like, what if I just end up the rest of my life alone? And it's like, yeah, I could live in that state of mind, but I'm choosing to live in the state of mind of faith. I'm choosing to believe that it's possible for me, that it is coming, that I am open and I am worthy of this beautiful love, and I have faith that God, the ultimate good, wants to give it to me. So that is the question that we want to ask ourselves. Where does our faith end, and how can we expand that vessel to receive more? Another powerful feminine thing that we learn is the rebellious nature of the women in Egypt. So we have basically the story of Shifra and Puah, who were the Hebrew midwives. And basically Pharaoh goes to them and he's like, listen, you got to kill every baby boy that is born. And they were like, we're not doing that. So basically when Pharaoh comes to them and he's like, why are you not killing the baby boys? They're like, listen, Pharaoh, the Jewish women, the Israelite women, they're not like your Egyptian women. These women are like animals. They give birth so quickly. Before we even get to them, they're already given birth. So they were, I mean, obviously, like, yeah, I do think that the Israelite women were like powerful animals, but they were just doing their thing to continue saving the Jewish boys. And we also see it with Yocheved and Miriam. Yocheved, which is Moses' mother, who basically births him and then puts him in the Nile in a basket, and Miriam, his sister, goes and she makes sure that he's okay, and then Moses is basically found by Batya, who was the daughter of Pharaoh, who also was rebellious in the fact that she went and even did that she stretched out her arm, and the Midrash says that she stretches out her arm and her arm became like spaghetti. It just stretched out even more and she was able to bring down the basket. So all of these women had these acts of rebellion, this bold Jewish rebellion. And I think that one of the questions that we can ask ourselves is, how can I be more, not rebellious, but more of a bold Jewish woman? What can I bring into my life to make my Judaism more real? For each person, it can look like someone else. For one woman, it could look like lighting Shabbat candles. For another woman, it could look like dressing more modest. Whatever that looks like for you, because we each have our own unique relationship with Judaism, our spiritual tradition. So what does it look like for you to be more bold in your feminine Judaism? And finally, my favorite story, probably, besides for the woman birthing like wild animals, is the story of Miriam. So Miriam she's a prophetess, and she is the sister, like I mentioned, of Moses. I don't think that she is overlooked, but I think that Jewish women in general in the Torah aren't spoken about as much as Jewish as the men. But Miriam, basically, when the sea splits, she leads all the women in circle dances through the ocean, through the sand in the ocean, with tambourines. All the women have tambourines and they start dancing, and the men are looking at them like, what is going on? Where did you get those tambourines? And really we can ask ourselves the question, how the hell did they have tambourines when they didn't even have enough time for the dough to rise? They didn't even have bread. So basically this teaches us that the women knew that we would be redeemed, and they prepared before so that they could celebrate and be prepared for that celebration. What does that mean? It means that in our lives, how can we create vessels in a knowing that the redemption has already happened for us? Like, what is the tambourine that you can start, that you can take with you, that you can feel, that you can integrate? A lot of it, I feel like, is getting our nervous system recalibrated and feeling, something that we want. What does it feel like when I'm experiencing it? What does it taste like? What does it feel like in my body? And maybe the more that we can get our bodies used to a certain feeling and a certain sensation, then that's a way of manifesting it. Because I know that a lot of us, even not all of us pray, but even when we do pray, we can pray with words. And the thing is our words are powerful because words are vibration, but words also sometimes can come from the mind. And when there is resistance between the energy of the heart and the energy of the mind, the energy of the heart is always stronger. So even if in your head you want something and you're saying it and you're trying to manifest it, but your heart still feels unworthy, you will not receive it. So really our work is to first do the work on a heart frequency level, and then we can pray for it, and then we can manifest it and bring it into our lives, and for it to be a real prayer. So I think through all of this we can see the rebellious power, the like women just being ferocious and bold, all of the women that I just mentioned. And I think that that goes to the nature of birth. I haven't yet birthed, hopefully soon one day, but birth is bloody. I follow all these birthing accounts, and it is messy and teary and near death and dangerous. And I think that we need to remember that yes, on Pesach we can be reborn and something new can come out, but we need to remember that that process can also and is messy and bloody, and really we need to make space for that. And the more we can allow it, and the more we can love and see those dark parts, the more we can integrate them, the more we can transform them into good. So I really think that that experience is being able to hold all of the extremities and all of the dimensions of us in order to really integrate them and then be able to rise to the next level. So Pesach tonight, I mean tomorrow night, and just first of all this month in general, the month of Nisan, which comes from the root of Nes, which means miracle. What is a miracle? Miracle is something that has the power that is above nature. So really this is a time when we need to understand that it's a powerful portal for something new to occur. We just need to be open to it. We just need to want it. We just need to see it, and it can happen for us, and it will happen for us. So wishing you all a beautiful Chag sameach and Shabbat Shalom, and follow, subscribe, and do what you need to do. Share this with your mom or your best friend, and Chag sameach, Shabbat Shalom.